Rebecca Hardy is the president and policy director of Texans for Vaccine Choice and has transformed the organization into one of the most influential voices for medical liberty.
Let's be clear. Nobody wakes up one day and says, let's take on big pharma, right? Or let's take on vaccine choice politics. I had never shown up to a town hall meeting in my life. I showed up and there was this group of moms there. None of us had get engaged politically, but we were like, by golly, we're going to go to Austin and we're going to figure out how to kill this bill. Well, joke's on us because it was 16 bills and we defeated all of them. All of these things add up to this mountain of liberty. So I just encourage everybody to find your role, find your voice, get involved, lock arms with these people that are actually moving mountains in your state, because it will ultimately add up to advancement of your rights.
Welcome to the React19 Podcast, where we bring awareness and support to the COVID-19 vaccine injured and discuss the science, research, and laws that affect all of us. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us again today. I'm Ann Forty, the host of the React19 Podcast, and I am very excited about today's guest because I believe her work will inspire us all to recognize that each of us has the power to bring positive change to our community. Rebecca Hardy is the president and policy director of Texans for Vaccine Choice and has transformed the organization into one of the most influential voices for medical liberty since co-founding it in 2015. Under Rebecca's leadership, TFVC has secured major legislative victories, defeating restrictive exemption bills, reforming child protective services, and passing a 2023 law protecting workers from COVID-19 vaccine mandates, all the while championing transparency and parental rights. Beyond policy, Rebecca has inspired grassroots advocacy through TFVC's annual Freedom Fight rally and has expanded public awareness of vaccine injury as executive producer of the award-winning documentary Follow the Silenced, a film, if you haven't watched it, you need to watch it, and there will be a link in the show notes. Rebecca, you are a very, very busy lady, so thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Well, thank you for having me on. React19 has such a special place in my heart personally, and of course the hearts of TFVC and all of our supporters. It was really an honor of a lifetime to be able to partner on Follow the Silenced with React19. So thank you for having me on.
Oh, yes. Well, you were instrumental in that film. and I want to get to talking about this. Actually, there's so much to talk about here. But where I want to begin first is asking you, how in the world did you ever enter this arena of advocating for medical freedom?
That is a great question. I think a lot of us ask ourselves that almost every day. Because let's be clear, nobody wakes up one day and says, let's take on big pharma, right? Or let's take on vaccine choice politics. It is definitely a calling. It is definitely a mission. More days than not, it is a ministry as well. You can just imagine the daily phone calls that medical liberty activists get, just almost every day, really. Personally, my journey started probably about 20 years ago. I was a practicing speech pathologist for 20 years. And it was in those early years, right out of graduate school. I'm not going to tell you what year I graduated, but it's been a minute. I was this young woman right out of grad school, and I was setting up my practice, and then in came the influx of young mothers with their small children saying they were developing fine, but now there's been some sort of regression after a shot visit, and they were there seeking help, my services for that, the communication component of a regression experience that, and I'm not going to say that every mom had the same story, but there were too many moms there to ignore. And I remember going home as this young woman every day after work thinking something's wrong here. Even if half these moms are wrong, there's still something here, right? And so a lot of, and let's be clear, I am going to say a year, it was in the early 2000s. Vaccines just didn't have the religious fervor. This topic just wasn't, this heated, controversial topic that it is today. it certainly wasn't something that was covered in graduate school for
Mm.
my speech pathology degree. And so I just remember going home at night just thinking there's something wrong here. And where along the way as a nation did we stop believing moms?
Mm.
Moms know when something's different. Moms know when something's changed in their kids. And so I just remember thinking, okay, there's some pitfalls here. I don't know what they are, but there's some pitfalls. And I would say a lot of seeds were planted. Fast forward a good number of years when I meet my husband, we're starting our family, and we had hired a doula. And my doula said, this is all she said at one of my, prenatal appointments. She said, just be sure you're researching vaccines as much as you're researching that car seat and crib.
Wow.
And so I was like, oh yeah, I need to go back. I need to circle back on that. And I remember this night, I'm probably 8 months pregnant with my first one. And I doubt if my husband even remembers this conversation, but he walked by where my desk was in our house. And I said, honey, look at this. The WHO said, and now mind you, this was 2007. This webpage probably doesn't even exist anymore, but the WHO, I said, look, the WHO says that half the people that got measles in the world last year were fully vaccinated against measles. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, we're not going to do that. And, like I said, he probably doesn't remember that conversation, but to me, it was a crystallizing moment. Like, oh yeah, we're not going to do that. And so we have 2 daughters. And so we had just made very different vaccination decisions for them. And then in 2015, a vaccine mandate bill was filed in our Texas legislature. And, I had already moved over to the Tarrant County side of the DFW Metroplex, but when when I had moved from the district where that state representative was located. And so I had enough connections back in that older district to realize what had happened. I mean, this was a man I had voted for. Like, for him to be filing this mandate bill, it was really just shocking. And so I went to a town hall meeting with him. I mean, I had never shown up to a town hall meeting in my life. I mean, I was just I say I was a quiet speech pathologist with my head down. My husband and all my friends would laugh at that. But, I was just kind of a mom doing my thing, doing my little part-time speech path gig. But I went to this town hall with this state representative and was faced with just utter arrogance. I mean, he was just so epically rude to all of us. And when I say us, I showed up and there was this group of moms there. And I remember walking in thinking they're either with me or they're against me. I don't know. Afterwards, it was very clear that they were with me, and we all went out to dinner afterwards. And like from there, kind of TFVC was birthed at this
So it was
dinner.
birthed from that moment.
Yeah, it was kind of, there was a lot of little pieces, and these were these warrior moms, these moms of children with autism, they are a tight-knit group, and they swarmed me after this town hall, and they were like, who are you? Because, we're all asking questions and getting these just horribly arrogant answers from the state rep. And they were like, who are you? I was like, I am just a mom who made different vaccine choices for my children because I listened to moms like you. And you should have just seen their faces. Like, somebody listened.
Right.
And so I quickly realized that as a woman with children that were healthy, happy, and, I had more bandwidth.
Right.
These moms, the divorce rate in vaccine injury is sky high.
Right.
The vaccine injury just is so expensive. And so I realized a lot of these moms are, barely,
They're barely surviving. Just, they don't have the bandwidth. They're just trying to tread water. And yes, to have somebody that's healthy come in and say, oh, I'll help you carry this.
Yes, like I had margin, I guess, and I would say. And so I was able to kind of work with this group of, the 3 of us that just kind of were like, hey, let's figure this out. None of us had get engaged politically, but we were like, by golly, we're going to go to Austin and we're going to figure out how to kill this bill. Well, joke's on us because it was 16 bills, not just that mandate bill, but 16 other bills that were filed in that 2015 session that would have eroded rights, these little stepping stone bills. And we defeated all of them.
Oh
And
my goodness. Oh
I
my
know
goodness. That gives me chills.
I mean, it is just a tremendous like David and Goliath story.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I think anybody that takes this on really is,
It is.
like ready for battle. And it was really funny because I think after that session, we kind of said, like we came, we saw, we conquered, we can go back to our other lives. Then some state reps called us and took us to coffee, and they said, listen, we have never seen moms take over this Capitol building like you guys. We quickly kind of coalesced this army, this mom army that showed up, and we were making phone calls, and we were, getting legislation amended in real time, that were, to basically neuter bad legislation. And they were like, listen, we've never seen y'all a movement like this before. We really think you need to consider forming an official organization. And because listen, this issue is not going anywhere. And, I just think of those words just echoing into infinity because, 5 short years later, we're faced with this, global pandemic response of corruption and tyranny and fraud, and talk about this issue not going anywhere, right? It just almost put this massive spotlight on this issue. And so we have been very successful for the past 10 years. I feel like I've answered more than your question.
No, keep going because I wanted to motivate and energize people who are listening in. So, yes, that's just amazing to me. How you were able to just mobilize so quickly. I mean, you just walk in alone and, then a little bit later, you've got a whole coalition going, and you have representatives calling you saying, wow, we've never seen this kind of power. And I think that is the key here, is that people don't realize how much power they have if they just get informed and get engaged. And I think, well, first of all, your mission, the mission of Texans for Vaccine Choice is, as I have it here, is to protect and advance informed consent, medical privacy, and vaccine choice through influential public policy, quality educational resources, and training an engaged and connected community. Absolutely, 100%. We need to do this in every state, in every county. So,
that's right. And it really requires, all hands on deck. This is not the Rebecca Hardy show here at TFVC at all. I mean, I have the true honor and privilege of kind of guiding the ship here, but it is truly an army. I have an amazing staff. We're a staff of 5. We're not this, army, but listen, we are a staff of moms, and we all know that moms get it done. We wear a lot of hats around here. But more than that, we have this army of volunteers, and every legislative session we have lobby days, and we've got this group that comes. We have canvas days, and we have a rally. We have all these opportunities.
Let's break that down a bit. So how do you engage? How have you been able to get so many people involved? I mean, how have you been able to, and I know, obviously, I'm a mother of 8. The vaccine issue came up. I think I'm older than you are, because my kids are all grown now. But so I remember this was before 2000, and I remember standing in my living room and saying, at some point, the vaccine issue is going to divide this country. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah. But at any rate, but even working here locally, I'm in Indiana, we have Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. Ashley Grogg does a great job. But we always have this issue of, getting the people engaged. Sure, everybody was engaged at the beginning when they, in 2020, when people are trying to get out of the vaccine, but then people are like, oh, well, that's done. That's over. That's never going to happen again. give some tips on how you keep the community engaged. And yes, please talk about the freedom rallies that you have every year. Talk about that too, please.
Yeah, it takes a lot of effort keeping this topic in the forefront of public discourse, and that is what is vital to not, because I think to your point, kind of this moment for the greater movement, I'm talking about the nationwide movement, we probably are dealing with a little bit of, for lack of a better word, complacency. The height of the COVID fervor, it has died down. But to those people, I would say, like, we can't let them forget.
Right.
We can't let them pretend like that didn't happen. Like, I'm not over it. Nobody should be over it.
Nobody should be over it. There's so much
people accountable, 100%.
Yes.
And also, it's really important to remind everyone that 99% of, vaccine and health policy is truly set at the state level. And while I think we're all, fairly optimistic about what the potential of some federal, some like federal agency level change that might be possible with RFK Jr. in the cabinet, no federal appointment is going to save the states. The fight is in your state capitals, and it's in your communities, your local communities, and you've got to get out and spread the message there. And this idea that RFK is going to fix this all could not be further from the truth. I'm optimistic, I'm hopeful, but that doesn't change all of the tyrannical laws on the books today, even in Texas. And I just want to put a plug in. I think maybe your listeners from outside of Texas might think, oh, Texas is fine. Texas is safe. Texas is deep red. They love liberty. It really couldn't be further from the truth. You just have to look at our bill list that we're fighting every legislative session. We have bad bills every session. The good news is that they are, I like to say that they're DOA, that even the bill authors know that they're DOA because we're on the scene and we're going to defeat them.
I think you have 100%, rate of killing bad bills.
We have not let one bad bill over the finish line since we started.
How encouraging.
And that is a track record I'm very proud of. We just will not cede any ground. In fact, I would say there's a lot of ground to take back. Just because we lost some ground during the COVID response, even in Texas. Do I have perspective that we were better off in Texas than other states? Of course, but I'm a 6th generation Texan, and this idea that we were locked down and masked up and told we were non-essential is just the most un-Texan thing I can think of. So there is ground to take back for sure.
Okay, so again, going back to how do you engage your community?
Yes. So our biggest piece of the puzzle that we started a couple of years ago was our outreach program. And we were able to bring on an outreach director, Carrie Bigford. To know her is to love her. She's like the little Energizer bunny here at TFVC. And she has just knows that she was put on this earth to build an army in Texas for medical liberty, and has created this beautiful program for our core volunteers. We call them our outreach coordinators, and they are trained, equipped, and empowered to reach their local communities. This program is scalable and it's customizable, and it's just a work of beauty. And
so anybody can, if you're not in Texas, you can take part in this program.
Well, our outreach program, the onboarding process consists of 2 classes.
Okay.
But first class is essentially a communications class. And I know it sounds so silly, but it is so instrumental, because how many of us have been I'll just use the term, in the wild, and vaccines come up and you try to have this conversation and it just goes sideways because it's just kind of this controversial hot button, hot potato that nobody really wants to talk about. And without the tools to actually communicate effectively about a controversial topic, those conversations will consistently go sideways, consistently. And both parties will leave those conversations feeling defeated and like, I'm not going to do that again. And so this first class, the effective communications class, we have opened it up to people nationwide who just want to learn how to communicate better. And really, anybody should take this because it really enables you to be a better human, right? As well.
Wow, that sounds fantastic. Now, that's probably something that's on your website, and I can put a link in that to the show notes.
Yes,
All this is
yes.
on your website?
Yes, ma'am. It's
Okay.
if you go to our website, texansforvaccinechoice.com, the Get Involved tab has a option to train with TFVC.
Okay.
And there's kind of two paths for that. There's the effective outreach, which is just people that want these tools. It is a class that they can enroll in to get these tips and tricks. And I don't even want to call it a trick or a gimmick or anything.
Yeah, no, it's just a skill.
Yes, it is a skill.
skill.
It's a 2-hour class that is chock full of practical tips to really empower you in your personal advocacy.
Excellent.
And then there's kind of a different path. If there's somebody in Texas that wants to lock arms with us and truly be a volunteer with TFVC, that is our outreach coordinator path. And that class, all of the classes and the monthly training that goes with it, of course, is offered for free for anybody that wants to partner with us. It's kind of like you invest in us, we invest in you. And those volunteers are equipped with all the tools that they need, and they're gift. We truly try to go out of our way to appreciate them and to equip them. And when I say equip, I mean tangible things, like they get a tote bag full of materials and full of things to truly empower them in their day-to-day advocacy. We have one that is very involved in her city council. We have one that is kind of her school board hawk. We have a lot that love to come to the Capitol and canvas with us. So when I say it's scalable and customizable, that is what we're looking at. We have one who makes like some skincare products, and she does all of these markets, and she puts up her TFVC stuff at the market. And so she's kind of doing so like, it really is a beautiful thing to see.
It's incorporated into your life wherever you are.
Yes. Yeah, so we're averaging around 50 to 60 outreach encounters every month with our OC Army. So, Texas geographically is ginormous. And so we always say, this is one conversation at a time. And at some point, we will have talked to all the Texans. So that is our goal, because
that is just so exciting.
Medical liberty really is for everyone. It's for everyone. Even the people that hate us right now, we're fighting for you, is what we say.
I mean, yes, that is correct. Okay, so you've got the educational component. Yes. Talk about your rallies, or the rally that you do every year.
Yes. So the Texas legislative cycle is actually every 2 years. So our rally is every other year when we are in session, and it is our moment to kind of tell the legislators, like, we're here, we're not going away, and this is what we expect of you. And I think that's what's really beautiful about TFVC is that, our outreach is always based, we have a firm belief that you're going to attract more flies with honey than vinegar. So we are not ever angry. We're not mean. We're not, but we're persistent. And so, but we always have a smile on our face, and we are known as the happy warriors in our Capitol building. We have my little staff, we work in a field where it is rife with corruption and fraud and conflicts of interest and a lot of really sad stories every day. And if we chose to wake up every day and camp there, we would just be miserable souls, right? And so it is a daily decision that we wake up with joy, with the mission that's set before us. And, we just try to exude that mentality and that heart. Our heart is to serve and to help and to, save Texas.
Oh my goodness. That is just so inspiring. Now, do you work with national groups too, like Stand for Health Freedom, or I don't know what other, that one just comes to mind. Do you work alongside other groups or?
Sayer's been just such an amazing, he's just been doing great things with Stand for Health Freedom. We also have, are on some of the bi-monthly, bi-weekly MAHA action calls.
Okay.
TFVC is considered an affiliate of Children's Health Defense. So we
Okay.
have some connections, but this again, though, every state is set up so differently.
Yeah.
It's,
Yes, you're correct.
we get asked all the time, like, oh, do you coordinate with other states? And the answer is like, yes, but no,
You're
like
right.
it's like we champion and we applaud and we are like, we'll cheerlead any
Yeah.
state's effort. It's just that interstate collaboration is really hard because the makeup,
Everybody's,
of the legislator is different. Just the vibe of the population's different. I mean, it's how to pass a bill is so different. I mean, all
Mhm.
of that is just widely varying.
Which is why your educational resources are so, your communication and teaching communication skills is so important, because obviously that is something anyone can do in any state.
For
So,
sure. It is universal for sure.
and just, I think that's the biggest thing is that we can all learn from each other. Just everybody, kind of a group. Hey, what are you doing over here? Oh, this has worked
Oh,
for
for
us. This
sure.
has worked for us. So, all right. So you have the educational, you have the rallies.
Yeah, and
Obviously,
I want to talk about this past rally because it really was a tremendous moment because in 2015 when we launched, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it was smooth sailing in
right,
2015
right.
because it wasn't. I mean, we could barely get a meeting with legislators. It was or we would have these kind of whispered conversations in the hallways where the state rep would say, "Hey, I'm with you, but don't put my name on anything."
Yes, isn't that
And
the way? Isn't that
I
the way?
know that rally that we had in 2015, we had two legislators brave enough to show up. And
Wow.
so fast forward to this rally that we just had in February of 2025, we had about 40 show up. And that wasn't even everybody that was invited. Those were the only people that could get out of committee or get out of whatever they were doing
Wow.
to show up and to be able to introduce them and have them walk across the little stage there. It was a moment where I kind of got tears in my
Oh
eyes
my goodness.
myself because it was just such a testimony to just the we have just worked so hard. I know you've been in this for a long time too, and I know that you have that same feeling of like for 10 years it just seems like we've been pushing this
Mm.
boulder up the mountain, right? And it's just been hard work, but it's been worth it, and we've seen some incremental changes. And now in these post-COVID legislative sessions in Texas, we're really seeing that the momentum is on our side, and we are
So encouraging.
100% capitalizing on it.
That is so encouraging. So, yeah, talk about the legislative success you just had this past time. Where people can now do this online, file for exemptions. Is that right? Do I
Yes.
have that right?
Yes, you do. So in this past legislative session, our Texas legislature, our regular session is from basically January through, Memorial Day every
Mhm.
odd year in Texas. And so it's 140 days to get a bill passed, which it's set up to be hard, right? But
Mhm.
I am proud to announce that we were able to get 6 standalone protective pieces of legislation fully passed in this regular session. And we are in a special session and we are poised to possibly get number 7 as well. But the biggest win out of the 2025 session was a tremendous leap forward in the exemption process for Texas school children. So currently it's a just kind of antiquated system, I would say,
Mhm.
and it makes sense that it was set up this way because the law has been on the books for a couple of decades, which the internet was in its infancy at the
Right.
time. But it's now time to bring Texas into 2025. Let's be clear. And so this bill, so currently parents have to go onto the health department website, fill out this form with a lot of personal information, and then the health department mails you your personal belief or religious exemption, which
Mm.
that has never made sense to me that the health department is mailing religious exemptions. But that aside, it costs the state tons of money every year because
Oh yeah.
exemptions show up in these huge manila envelopes and the exemptions are on this special paper with a state seal. I mean, it's just this term, and it's already filled out with your kid's name on it. I mean, there's privacy concerns, there's fiscal concerns, and also parents shouldn't have to jump through these bureaucratic hoops to have free exercise of their deeply held beliefs. And so we have long championed, literally almost from day one of TFVC back in 2015, that we needed to at the minimum have the parents empowered to print these exemptions from home and not having to wait on the state to mail them. What we were seeing, back to school after back to school after back to school season is parents wait to the last minute to request them, and then they're stuck with, I've requested them, they're not here yet, but school has started. And it's just silly because whether you have this paper on file or not, they hold that enrollment hostage to the parents, to the kids. And it's like, this piece of paper does not magically make a child any more or less healthy,
Right.
but they won't let the kids start without this magical paper. And so we have officially freed the forms.
Bravo.
I know the bill becomes effective on September 1st.
Wow.
The department has 30 days to fully implement the rules, which puts us right at October 1st. So, it is such an exciting time to be working with our health department to establish these rules. And that's just, if you had told me 10 years ago that we would be working with the health department to, establish these rules, I would have looked at you like you had three heads. So it's a very exciting time in Texas to see, not just maintaining the status quo, but truly advancing the line.
That is it. I mean, I'm just so encouraged listening to you. It's like, okay, I'm gonna, go meet with Ashley and we're gonna, see what we can do to, get the more people involved. Because, I do think that, the apathy can sit in and people are just think, oh, well, everything's fine, which we talked about a little bit ago. What do you see going forward? Do you think things will continue to move forward and people will get this is going to go before the Supreme Court. I don't know. I know that there's dozens of cases, that are waiting to have the Supreme Court listen on this issue of vaccine mandates. Do we have a right to autonomy? Do we not? We know that there are still schools that are still mandating this, especially if you're like being trained to be a nurse, you have to go through clinicals. They're still being mandated in places in this country. So where do you think this is going to go?
Yes. So, that was a meaty question. So let's just start with the courts. By and large, I think we've all seen that in these, especially the COVID-related court cases, the COVID-19 vaccine-related court cases, the courts seem to be getting most of them right. Now, it's not universal, right? But we have been seeing the courts, by and large, siding on the side of liberty, which to me is encouraging. I see the fight more on we have got to restore liability for these vaccine manufacturers. That truly, I mean, I'm not going to say that that's a silver bullet, even if we were to restore liability for vaccine manufacturers.
Yeah, people could still mandate it.
There would still be work to do,
right.
But this will be a tremendous leap forward. Between the PrEP Act that shields these COVID jabs and the 1986 National Childhood Vaccine Injury Act that shields all the other manufacturers. This was truly just, I mean, it is just a black mark on our nation's history, in my opinion.
And just if I'm assuming anybody who's listening to this already knows this, but if you don't know it, please understand that if you get adversely affected by a vaccine, the manufacturer, they're not liable. They have what happened is that there were vaccine manufacturers that were just going to leave the market back in 1980 because they were getting too many lawsuits. They're like, okay, we're out. We're getting too many lawsuits. And the government came in and said, oh, no, we need you to keep making these and, we'll cover this. And then we go from like 12 vaccines to now we're up to 72 or maybe it's 96 now with the COVID, just a ridiculous amount of vaccines on the schedule. So it's really, really important. And I think something else that people should know, this I think just happened yesterday or the day before, where what is it? The Pediatrics Association of Pediatrics have gone against what HHS has said on the CDC schedule, and they're like, "Oh no, you, babies 6 months and up still need to have it, and you should still do that." You need to know that if something happens to your child, they're not covered. If it's not on the CDC scheduled, you can't even get compensation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, you can't even get compensation.
I want to point out
government
too that I'm just going to backtrack a little bit.
Okay.
As far as talking about the vaccine, the current day vaccine schedule, it does keep on expanding, and you can really track that explosion in the schedule back to when that law was passed in 1986. They're like, oh my goodness, we have no more liability. That's the sweet spot is to get their vaccine on the childhood schedule. And then they have legislatures across the nation, mandating their products, and they have no liability. And by default, they have no incentive to make a safe and effective product. But so every year we produce a half-page shot schedule comparison. So we have like the 1983 schedule on this side and the current day schedule on this side. And for the first time in the 10 years that TFVC existed, between the 2024 and the 2025 schedule, we were able to remove shots because RFK Jr. had removed the COVID jabs for children and pregnant women on that. And so we were like, oh, this is great. For the first time, we're moving in the right direction. And so, RFK had removed these shots from the schedule. It's a tremendous, step in the right direction. But then the AAP, the American Association of Pediatrics, came out and said, you know what? We're going to have our own science-based schedule. Don't follow the CDC. I mean, this is an organization that has been in lockstep with the CDC forever. And then suddenly, nope. CDC is not what we need to be doing. We're going to do our own thing. And then just yesterday, Secretary Kennedy released a screenshot from the AAP's website that shows all of their corporate donors. And all of their corporate donors, I know this is going to be a shock to your audience here, are every single manufacturer of childhood vaccines. And so I will let your very smart audience put two and two together there, but it just doesn't even pass the sniff test.
I think so many people just don't understand. We just think somehow the gods of truth live at the CDC or FDA, and we're like, oh, well, they would never do that. They would never do that. And honestly, I mean, although I've been an advocate for vaccine choice for many, many years, it isn't until my involvement with the COVID vaccine and working with a vaccine injury that I still, every time I do an interview, I can hardly keep tears back because I work with these people every day and I cannot believe how our government literally abandoned them. I mean, not only did we have a president that worked with the Trusted News Initiative, banning anybody from speaking about it, working with social media companies. But these organizations themselves, I mean, they knew at the beginning of the rollout, January 2021, they knew that there were thousands of vaccine injuries taking place. And, they were telling the vaccine injured, oh, we're going to let people know, we're going to help you. And nothing. To this day, nothing. And these people, I mean, I work with people who've lost not only all their health, they've lost their livelihood. Some have lost every single dime of their retirement. They've had to mortgage their homes. Some have had to move out of their homes. It has been the most tragic thing. And we just don't think, oh, that just wouldn't happen, that they can't really be telling the truth, because there's no way our government would let that happen. Yes, your government has. And I think just people waking up to that, it is a hard reality. It's a very hard reality to think that this this actually happened.
It did
And
happen. And you got to be careful because I have a firm belief that no one cries alone. So careful there. But
well, okay, let's
no,
talk about this is a perfect segue into you being the executive director of Follow the Silenced, which
and
is
yeah.
the whole story of the vaccine injured. So tell us how you got involved with that.
Yes. So, and I just want to say one thing before we get into the movie, and it is despicable the way our government treats the vaccine injured. And it is, I don't wish the COVID response on anyone. I want to make that crystal, crystal clear. What we all collectively experienced was just tyranny doesn't even,
Right.
satisfy
Begin.
what we all experienced. If, however, we can be vehicles of redeeming some of that wickedness, then I say, here I am, use me, right? And part of that redemption was that the documentary Follow the Silenced. And we got involved in that. Mickey Willis is the producer on that, and Matthew Guthrie and Matthew Lindsay, the directors on it. They are just salt of the earth humans,
Mhm.
and I am just honored and blessed to know them. And they approached us in 2023, I believe, and said, listen, we have this really great story we're trying to tell. We're out of money. Is there anything that Texans for Vaccine Choice can do? And so we were able to go to some of our, more generous donors and kind of say, like, is this something you're interested in?
Mhm.
And we're able to partner with Mickey Willis and the team at Follow the Silence to get this movie over the finish line. And it's kind of funny because, the movie was supposed to, I don't know if everybody knows this, but it was supposed to be done by the end of 2023.
Oh
And
gosh, I was promoting it and I'd be calling Brie. I'm like, when's it? Oh,
yeah,
it's gonna be November. Oh, it's gonna be the spring. Oh, it's gonna be. I'm like, oh my gosh,
we were all
I think
very
I have
eager.
Facebook posts going back several years.
I can only imagine. Yes, we were like, what's the status here? What's
Yeah.
going on? Is it still happening? I mean, you write a really large check and you're like, okay, let's go. Um, and anyway, but now that it is out, I think the timing of the movie is really
100%.
providential. And
100%.
100%. I mean, I have complete clarity that this was
Hmm.
delayed providentially. And so, because we were able to kind of tell the full story of getting,
Hmm.
just seeing even footage from RFK's confirmation hearings in the movie, and just how deep the corruption in DC goes. I mean,
I mean,
it's
you
a,
saw Mark Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan saying, "Oh yes,
yes,
we were censored. They were calling us up and yelling at us." And yeah,
yes.
he was able to get that in the film. And
Well,
that was just earlier this year.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, it was really providential.
it truly, truly was. It just created a fuller story.
Hmm.
And I getting to know Breanne Dresen and the other people from the React19 team, it's just, whew, talk about tears, Anne.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
it's family. We're all, I mean, everybody
yeah,
in this movement is family. I
we
mean, it's just
are. And
you're a kindred spirit right away because of all the no, no matter which way you're approaching this, no matter how you're involved, we just know collectively what we've been through.
yes, it's like this immediate, like all these things that are being said
Yep.
with no words. And vaccine injury knows no race, it knows no party, it knows no socioeconomic status. It's a horrible great uniter, right? Like
Oh yeah.
it's horrible and it's sad, but yet there is this family that's ready to catch you. And it's not it's like the movement chooses you. And I mean, usually it's under really sad
Hmm.
circumstances. And like I said earlier,
Devastating.
for personally, it was witnessing a lot of devastation. I'm not personally impacted with my family, but man, the stories I hear, it keeps you up at night. It really does. And just to see how not just left out to dry and abandoned, but more than that, the censorship, the active censorship, it is truly mind blowing. So this is my shameless plug. If you have not seen Follow the Silence, go to followthesilence.com. You can watch it for free. Share it with your friends and family. It is a beautiful story. This is it's so weird to say that about a vaccine documentary.
Right.
Beautiful story, right? I mean, I've seen every vaccine documentary out there.
Me too.
And a lot of them,
I would still recommend this one over them all.
Yeah, I mean,
100%. And I've been in this, a long time, and I just, and that link to I mean, it can, you go to that. That'll be in the show notes. It's on your website, Texans for Vaccine Choice. The makers of this film, the backers of this film wanted to make sure that there would be no hurdles to anyone seeing this film, because it's that important for people to understand what has taken place and the plight that these people are still in, and realize that there have been people who they lost so much hope because they knew no one was coming to help them. They were just getting gaslit, that they determined just to take their own life. Because where do you go when not only no one is listening, you can't even get the word out, and if somebody does get it out, you're just maligned and told you're, excuse me, a conspiracy theorist or something. So I think
that didn't really happen. And, these adult mandates, it's one of those things where adults, I think it's easier to kind of explain things away when a child is injured, right? Children are quirky, or if it happens before they can talk, then, you never really know, right? With adults know they were like this. They got a medical intervention, and now they're like this. And like, it was always going to, I mean, again, I don't wish vaccine injury on anyone. I also firmly believe that it was always going to take adult mandates to kind of turn this ship around, because they have a voice,
Right.
And yes, it's been hard to get their voices heard, but I would say, just from what I'm hearing out in the community, I'm, do speaking engagements all over the state. And what I am seeing is there's hardly anybody in any of my audiences that is not directly impacted by injury anymore. And if I had asked if these identical conversations that I had 6 years ago, it was maybe 10% of the audience. And now it's, the majority, every single audience has a direct connection with vaccine injury. And it's horrible. It's not it's not a team you ever want to sign up for. Right. But we have got to just maintain this topic in at the forefront of every discussion, because we cannot let these voices be silenced. We can't let their lives not matter. We have to be agents of change so this never happens again.
100%, 100%. And I want to quote you from a recent New York Times article where they said, her, meaning you, dream agenda, she said, is getting to a place where your vaccination status is irrelevant to your participation in society in Texas. Well, I would say in the United States, but
amen.
Yeah.
I remember back in the, I'm not going to age either one of us, but let's just say globally, like back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, nobody cared. Vaccines, it was just like, oh, you get them, you don't. Like, this was just not a topic, right?
Nor did you see people that would make you question them.
Correct.
Like, I agree. I mean, I didn't grow up in the 60s with, kids my age having, autism on the spectrum, all these allergies. I mean, it wasn't there.
It wasn't there. It wasn't there. And the vaccine issue just was like, it wasn't even an issue, right? Nobody cared. Nobody talked about it. It was just like you do you. And so that's kind of my heart behind that quote you read is like, look, can we just go back? Can we go back to the 80s where it was like, you do you? That's the heart of TFVC is, if you want to go get every vaccine tomorrow and the next day and the next day, you do you. Your vaccine status does not impact mine, and my vaccine status does not impact yours. That's probably the biggest hat trick that Big Pharma has done is this idea that, mine won't work unless you get yours. I mean, what other medicine works like that, Anne?
Right.
That's like saying I took my Claritin this morning so you don't have the sniffles. I mean, it just doesn't make
Right.
any scientific sense. And so, I can't remember where I was going with that.
So that's why your organization exists. And it is really important. People, you can connect with Texans for Vaccine Choice. You're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, the website, any other. Oh, and you have your podcast, Shots. What is it? Shot callers.
Yes, TFVC shot callers. And our website, really, we did a complete overhaul of our website earlier.
Super easy to navigate.
In honor of our 10th birthday, we did a kind of an overhaul of all of our resources. And, we have a lot of resources, and all of them are there's no paywall, there's no nothing. It's download this, click here for this resource. And we did that very intentionally because, we get accused of, being misinformation, right? And I say, no. We are providing the missing information. And so that it can be hard to find, right? I mean, Big Pharma does a really good job of, suppressing search results and everything, but we've really tried to make our website just a hub for all things medical liberty. Yes, some of them are focused on Texas things specifically, but by and large, they're not. We have a lot of general safety things, and have really pride ourselves in ensuring that it's just ready access for anybody. One of our newer initiatives is our new parent informed consent bundle that's also on our website for purchase, where you can gift the gift of informed consent to new and expecting parents. And it comes with a children's book that was written by one of our TFVC supporters and a little TFVC onesie. But the most important component of this is a folder full of information to help guide parents.
That's amazing.
Because the idea here is to help empower parents from the get-go instead of after some tragedy has happened. And then our podcast has been we're about a year and a half into that endeavor, and it's just been a lot of fun to kind of explore a lot of different avenues of medical liberty. We've had a whole host of people on there, from Aaron Siri to Dr. McCullough there's just been a really a fun cadre of hosts, of guests on our show. It's been a lot of fun to kind of dive into the podcast realm as well. And then we have our own Voices for Vaccine Choice campaign on our website as well, where people share their injury stories and why vaccine choice matters to them. And so we really we do a lot with a little here in TFVC. I think I look forward to the day where we're doing even more with more. But it's been a wild ride, and I am, it's just, I have clarity that this is why I am on this planet, and it doesn't make sense on paper, our successes and everything. So we know to who those victories belong to. And it's been just a humbling just decade, I guess I should say.
Well, I thank you for being so faithful for what has been put in your hands, and all of your staff, all that you guys are doing. And is there anything else before we sign off? I am just so encouraged. I would like everybody to go. Again, all of these links will be in the show notes. If you're here in Indiana, check out Hoosiers for Medical Liberty. I will put that in the show notes as well, because we're gonna be trying to work on becoming as big and as bold as Texas.
If I can just, my last words I would just say to your audience is, we can all do something. We can't all do everything, right? But you can be a sender. all of these state level orgs need donations. We do not
Yeah.
have corporate sponsors lining up behind us to give us money to
Yeah,
go
that's
big
always an
pharma.
issue. Money.
So we do need donations. And I'm not talking about just TFVC, although we do,
Yeah.
but these state level orgs need your support. So, be a sender. It takes a lot of money
Yeah.
to make copies, to canvass the Capitol, to, pay for your email service provider. I mean, just to
Exactly.
think about all of those small little bills, but it
Yeah.
all adds up. I mean, I would even say, I hope Ashley's is getting hopefully a paycheck. I mean, nobody is in this for, a windfall,
Yeah,
right?
well, everybody, React19, yeah, volunteer,
Yeah. Well, and that's
Hoosiers for Medical Liberty, it's moms.
it's a quick
Um,
road to burnout, though.
you're
That.
right.
I
You're
will
right,
caution
because
that. So, we do need support. But even if
100%,
you can't be a donor, guess what you can do? You can show up at your Capitol when your
yeah.
org has a lobby day or a canvas day or a rally. You can follow the action alerts. You can send an email. You can make a phone call. You can show up to testify at a hearing. All of these things are available to you. And if you don't use your voice, then you can't complain. And we can all do something. I mean, the successes of TFVC is proof positive of this. I mean, to every single Texan that has made a phone call, who has sent an email, who has made public comments on a bill, who has showed up to testify, who has rallied, all of these things add up to this mountain of liberty.
Mm-hmm.
So I just encourage everybody to find your role, find your voice, get involved, lock arms with these people that are actually moving mountains in your state, because it will ultimately add up to advancement of your rights.
I think that's a perfect place to wrap up. There's our charge, folks. There's our charge.
Right.
And we have an example in front of us. It can be done. And so I just thank you so much, Rebecca, for taking the time out today. For all of our listeners, go be informed, be engaged, and make the difference in the community that it can be done. It can be done. Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you so much for having me.